May I ask a question? Can you actually share that here too? Because I'd like to get it to Brianna Willits, one of our members and is a teacher here in the Chandler School District.
Absolutely. I will share it with, it'll be on a mail of some kind out to everybody.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we've started. I want to welcome everybody. I think that's actually the first slide, and talk about the agenda for today. So forward one, there we go. By the way, thank you to Jane, who helped to put this together, and all of the members of the board of AAUW Tucson. You know, this is the fall, obviously, motif. She has those for winter, spring, summer, you know. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody. I think we've had a nice little informal conversation, finding out what everybody's, a little bit about it, what everybody's been doing for the summer or not doing, as the case might be. We're really, really appreciative that Josh Whiteley is with us today to talk about balancing our lives, not just our lifestyle, I think, in a time of stress and anxiety. And it certainly is that, whether it's helping with kids, that I know some of you on this call have been doing that, whether it's, you know, actually teaching in this environment, you know, I mean, there's so many ways, you know, we've been helping families, we've been trying to maintain, you know, careers and other things. So we really look forward, Josh, to your talk and answering a few questions, if there are any of you. And then we'll take a short break, just so everybody can get another cup of coffee or whatever you need to do. And then we'll talk about branch business. And I am really excited at the plans that we have for the coming year. So I will, you know, I'll start that off, but then each one of the members will, you know, talk about their area. And if you would, instead of my coming back to introduce the next board member, if you just introduce the person following you, that would be fantastic. So that's the agenda for today. And I'm going to go on. Let's talk about Josh for a minute. Thank you, by the way, to Kay, who knows Josh and who convinced him to come and be with 20-some odd women this morning, who are looking forward to hearing all about how to de-stress, you know, and get rid of anxiety. And he has an awful lot of great credentials. And you know, this is the time when we need this sort of discussion and help. And Josh, thanks a lot for being here. So I'll turn the program over to you.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody, for having me, first of all, and thank you particularly to Kay for setting this up. I'm very happy to be here and be with you all. And maybe I should first ask, about how long do you want me to talk? Was it 30 minutes or something like that? Is that good?
20 to 30 with questions.
20 to 30? Okay, perfect. Okay, that's about what I set up for. So, so I'll tell you guys just a little bit. I'll give you a quick bio of me so you have a little bit better understanding. So my name's Josh, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist, and so I studied Chinese medicine, and I've also studied what is called Ayurvedic medicine, and this is similar to Chinese medicine in a lot of ways. It's the natural medicine that comes from India, though. So, but there's a lot of similarities in, you know, using dietary practices and herbal medicine and lifestyle practices to find health. And so I enjoy both these systems quite a bit. So I work with both of these. I've been at it for a little while now, maybe 10 or 15 years. So I enjoy it a lot. And I find there's a lot of very simple things that we can do to help, especially right now with everything going on. And as you said, it's stressful for everybody right now. And I have so many patients who I see right now who, even the ones who don't think they're stressed, are so stressed, you know, and because it's a very, you know, it's an uncertain time. We don't know what's happening. We don't know if we're going to get the COVID virus, if we're going to be okay with that. When's it going away? Is it not going away? So there's a lot of, I see this very much as a very low-lying level of stress that's affecting us all. So I think it's so important right now to address that and to take steps to proactively deal with this so that we can be in our best mental health, physical health, emotional health, and all these things. And of course, then be good to our friends and family and people around us who are going to need us. So I put together quite a bit of stuff that I think that is actually very easy to do. And I find these practices to be the most powerful, actually. There's a lot of very fancy herbal formulas you can do and practices you can do, but a lot of this stuff is actually, the day-to-day things that we do every day. And I always tell my patients that it's what you do most of the time that's the most important. So I also like to encourage everyone to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room. Life is short and fun. Sometimes there's a piece of cake, you eat a piece of cake. So I'm very practical in the sense of, life should be also fun and filled with joy. That's also medicine. But I'll give you some of the things that I feel are good to do on a very regular basis. So these are the things we want to do most of the time. I'll also say I'm a bit of a mumbler and I can start speeding up. So if that starts to happen, just put your hand up or just say, Josh, slow down. So if I start to go too fast or if anything's not clear, just let me know. I also wanted to point out I have a doggy who might be walking around. So everybody seems to have cats, but I have a doggy, so he might pop by to say hi too. Let me pull up this here. So Kay had talked to me, about kind of the primary issues being ways to address not only stress and anxiety, but sleep support and the immune system. And these to me are the three pillars of life. They really, really are. There's numerous studies that have shown the effects that stress has on us. One I saw has linked it to essentially 80% of all physical health conditions are rooted in stress. So that shows how big of a deal this is. And as we know, life is just inherently stressful. It just is. There's no way around it. So finding ways to actively address this on a regular basis to me is the root of what real medicine and healing is about. It's nice to have a medical doctor or a primary care provider that you trust and like and have that as your go-to. But I also feel the more we can do for ourselves and the more we can do to stay out of the doctor's office, the better off we're going to be in the long run too. So a lot of these tools I'm going to share with you are things that you can do from the comfort of your own home, in your own kitchen. I always say the kitchen is the first doctor's office. So when we look in our refrigerators and the cabinets and that type of thing, this is where we want to see our medicine cabinet, really. So the first things I want to talk about is dietary things. And I always like to joke and say, we all know what we're really supposed to be doing. So I'll give you some kind of general overviews of some things. And again, these are things that we want to emphasize in a broad sense and with a little bit of leeway for ourselves to have some fun too. So, but typically we want to make sure we're tending to eat a diet rich in whole grains, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Avoid processed foods is a big one. And they are very convenient. It's nice. I have them in my cabinet sometimes too. When you have a busy day or you just don't have a lot of time, it's nice to open the can and pour something in the pot and just cook it up. But we really want to make sure that a lot of the time we're eating more fresh foods. So preparing fresh vegetables, and whether that's cooking them up in a pan, or baking, whatever way that you prefer. And there's all kinds of recipes we can do. We want to really tend to lean into eating fresh vegetables. And I like to say, when you go shopping and you get your grocery cart and you fill it up, you should see a lot of not packages. So the more packaged the food is, probably the more we want to make that not quite an emphasis, right? So, fresh broccoli, fresh kale, especially these dark leafy greens, provide so much nutrition. And once you get good with them, there's some fabulous and delicious recipes you can make. So it doesn't have to be boring either. And same with our fruits, right? So we want the fruits to come right off the shelf. They usually shouldn't be in a bag or in a box or a package. But fresh seasonal fruit is also very nice. We do have the luxury these days that food comes from all over the world. We can get a banana any time of year we want. We can eat a mango any time of year we want. But if you pay a little bit more attention as well to what's in season, you'll find these foods actually will have the best taste. They'll be the most flavorful and the most rich, and you'll enjoy them much more. So start to pay attention to what time of year it is and what vegetables and which fruits are in season, and try to eat more of that and less of either the frozen fruits and vegetables or or packaged fruits and vegetables. So this is a big thing. It's very simple. We all know this, but I feel it's always a good reminder to get that this is where we get the bulk of our nutrition, and we should try to eat this way. Another big one is leftovers. And again, there's always the convenience factor. There's a little bit of, what depends on your lifestyle and how busy you are and what you're doing. I'll often make a little bit of food and make enough for, the meal the next day. But in Chinese medicine and in Ayurvedic medicine, they tend to feel that you shouldn't eat leftovers much longer than a couple days, really. It loses a lot of its nutrients in that time period. And it creates what they call toxicity in the body. That's not anything to be really afraid of. But just knowing that in general, it makes, if you're going to make a big pot of soup or a big meal, try to have that eaten within a couple days, and don't let it sit in the refrigerator for much more than that, ideally. The big one, and it's the one nobody likes to hear, and I don't like to hear it either, is sugar. And the more we can do to cut back on our sugar intake is probably the best thing we can do in our diet. And it's so prevalent. It's in so many of our foods. It's often very hidden in our foods. There's a lot of times that you may think you're not eating sugar, and if you turn the box over and read the package, you'll see, sure enough, first or second ingredient is sugar. It's delicious. It makes life very fun and joyous. But as we all know, it has some big health effects on the body. It increases inflammation in the body. It's not necessarily a very nutritious thing. If any of you have spent much time in a dentist chair, we also know the other thing it tends to do is and has a big effect on our teeth. So we really want to try to minimize sugar. If we're going to eat sweets, it's good to stick to more natural forms of them. Honey is okay. It's very sweet. It's very sugary. But if you're going to sweeten things, sweetening with a little bit of honey is a nice option. If you're going to use sugar, try to use more like a turbinado sugar or a whole sugar rather than the very refined white sugars. It's better to stick to those. They have a better nutrient content, and they won't have such a heavy effect on the body. So if you're eating chocolate, which I love, and I can't imagine a life without chocolate, stick a little bit more to the dark chocolates. So dark chocolate is actually quite good for our heart health. So eating a little bit of chocolate is very nice. Darker the better. You'll often find they'll have less sugar content in those as well. So Trader Joe's is a nice example. They make some really nice dark chocolates that are very delicious, still give you that little bit of a sweet thing without going overboard on the sugar, like maybe like a Snickers bar or a Reese's bar or something like that, right? And the other big reason that we're doing this is that our gut contains what they call a microbiome. And so there's different bacteria that live in the gut that digest our foods. And they've shown a really direct effect between the gut microbiome and the brain. So they've seen increase in depression, lethargy, fatigue, kind of just a general sense of unhappiness, and these types of things will come from not having a healthy microbiome. So they'll call the digestive tract or the gut the second brain even. So it's very, very important to take care of this for our own, not only for our physical health and our body, but also for our mental and emotional health. And if you just practice this a little bit, it's very obvious within a few weeks. If you cut back on your sugar and things like that, check your mental space and see how you're feeling. You'll often find that you're feeling much better. So we create these healthy bacteria in the guts that will help us digest our food better, help us feel better mentally, physically, and emotionally. So it's wonderful to take care of the digestive tract. Just a couple more things about the dietary stuff. Most people will find also that if you have your dinner by 6 or 7 p.m. at the latest, you're going to feel the best. So I always tell people the kitchen's closed after 7 p.m. So if you can avoid eating past 7 p.m. at the latest, you might have an occasional night where you just have to for whatever reason, and that's okay. But what we're doing essentially here is giving our digestive tract the time to cleanse through the evening. So as we're sleeping, our body is actually doing a lot of cleansing processes. And if we have food sitting in our bellies through the night, it kind of bogs down that process and will create, it can create some liver issues. It also will affect people's sleep a lot of time. So as best you can, you try to eat your last meal by 7 p.m. to give your body a break. So that's why we call breakfast, breakfast is breaking the fast, right? So we really want to try to not eat through the night just to give our body the best chance to clean itself. And this again will lead to all types of health, good health practices, right? Mental, emotional, and physical health. A couple real simple things that you can do, and you maybe for some of you this might feel a little adventurous, but is to eat some ginger and garlic very regularly in your meals. So these are both wonderful, wonderful things. Most of us know garlic real well, especially if you enjoy Italian food and things like that. It's very common, right? But these have very nice properties that are helpful for us right now, being antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antiviral, right? So this will be particularly for the immune system and helping keeping the body healthy and help us avoid getting sick. Ginger, not so many people use it necessarily here in the US, but it's very, very tasty. And once you figure out which type of meals to put it in, you can also make yourself a little cup of ginger tea is another way to have it too. And they sell those at the store. You can buy the bags of them, and sometimes there'll be a couple other flavors in there too, which is nice because it is a little bit spicy and warm. You can sweeten that with a little bit of honey too. But this ginger and garlic is wonderful to help keep our digestion good and strong and regular, keep our elimination regular. These are all very important concepts in Chinese medicine. So cooking with some ginger and garlic very regular is a good idea. I also like, there's a spice you may or may not know called turmeric. It's Turmeric. If you really get bored and really want to spend some time on the internet, research turmeric and all the health benefits. They're immense. And if there's one spice I couldn't recommend more, it's turmeric. Some people will take it as capsules, but what I tend to do is just I keep it on my counter actually. Whenever I'm making some food, I'll just dab a little bit of turmeric in there. It goes great on most types of food. It's a little bit of a bitter taste, but it's not a very strong taste. So if I'm making maybe eggs or some kind of stir-fried vegetables, any type of food really, a little bit of turmeric is not going to affect the flavor all that much. But has such wonderful, wonderful effects on cardiovascular health. They've shown it combats dementia, Alzheimer's disease. It combats cancer. And it improves digestion. So again, we're coming back to keeping this digestion very strong and doing well. So there's one spice that I can't recommend enough is eating some turmeric. Another nice, really simple thing you can do is when you wake up in the morning is to drink a cup of warm water. It's very simple. Before you've had any other food, any teas or coffee or any other type of beverages, start with a glass of warm water. And what this is doing is warming up the belly, and it gets peristalsis going, which is essentially our intestines have this kind of movement, right? So this warm water kind of sends the signal that it's time to start the day, it's time to warm up. I've helped people a lot who have digestive problems, gas or bloating or indigestion or acid reflux, these kind of things. Starting your day with a little bit of warm water is a great way to not only hydrate the whole GI tract, but to improve the digestive process itself. So it's a very simple thing, but very powerful. And you just need maybe just make yourself a little coffee mug. It doesn't have to be, here in the desert, we need to drink a lot of water. And it sounds like some of you aren't in Tucson, but here we can never get enough water. But starting with a little bit of warm water in the morning is a great idea to help the body's health. I also like fennel seeds are another nice one. If you tend to get indigestion, if you have a sweet tooth, have some fennel seeds on your counter or in the cupboard and chew a couple of those after you eat a meal. They're very sweet. They're a little bit of a licorice taste, so some people really can't stand it. I think they're delicious, but chewing on a few fennel seeds helps the digestive system work really well, and it'll satisfy that sweet craving that's a lot of us get at the end of a meal. So chewing a few fennel seeds is a really nice thing to do too. And then moving on, exercise is a huge thing, as we all know. I've been really impressed by studies that I've read about even just getting 30 minutes of simple walking is wonderful thing for the whole body and your health. So you don't have to live in the gym and lift weights all day and climb mountains. Just going for a walk is a wonderful thing to do to take care of our health. And I'm sure most of us know how good you feel when you do it. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get motivated to get out the door, but once you do it, you just feel so good. So I'm a big fan of even just walking. It's such a simple thing to do. But we can also do, there's, gentle stretching or yoga. There's also what they call Tai Chi. And if you're not aware of Tai Chi, you've probably seen the videos of these people in the park in China, and they move very slow and these very fluid movements. It's very nice, very peaceful, very calming, and great for the body as well, even though it's a very simple, light exercise. So I always encourage people to have some form of exercise. If you can do this every day, 30 minutes, you're golden. You can't do 30 minutes, do 10 or 15 minutes, right? Just whatever you're at, start there, and you'll find that as you feel better, you'll naturally want to increase this anyway. But getting right about 30 minutes is a great place to be with exercise. I always encourage people, if you're, right now it's tough, there's not a lot of classes available and places to go do this, but if you've all figured out how to get on Zoom, so you have some technical know-how, YouTube's a great place to find. There's all kinds of stuff for Tai Chi, stretching, any kind of exercise thing that you prefer or gravitate towards. And I would encourage you to check some new things out. If you've never heard of Tai Chi or never done Tai Chi, go watch a Tai Chi video and see how you like it. And you might be very impressed. I like it quite a bit. So getting a little bit of fresh air and a little bit of movement in the body is always a great way to maintain our health. It reduces stress, and it protects our immune system too. So I always encourage that. And next, as I said, we're in a particularly stressful time of life right now. But to me, life is life and life is stress. So there's always going to be stress affecting us, even in the best of times, right? So having an active practice to reduce your stress is so critically important. A lot of people, and I've fallen into this too, will tend to, you wait till things are really bad, right? We wait till things are broken and then we say, okay, I'll fix it, right? But doing something every week and preferably every day to address stress is probably the greatest thing you can do for your health. And again, simple exercise works a lot for a lot of people. Prayer, meditation, these are all different avenues that will get you to the same place. And again, these are things you can find on YouTube as well. If there's not a class happening near you, or you don't live with somebody who has these skills, look up short 10-minute meditation on YouTube, or 10-minute Tai Chi class on YouTube, and do something like this. What we're essentially trying to do is there's two branches of our nervous system, and there's a sympathetic end and a parasympathetic end, right? So our sympathetic end of our nervous system is the fight or flight system, and this is what historically is when the lion's chasing you and attacking you. We want that sympathetic nervous system. It amps our body up, it gets us ready to run, right? And then you have your parasympathetic side, which is your rest, heal, relax, rejuvenate, right? These are all the good qualities that we also need. We tend to exist more into this sympathetic state, though, just based on life and all the stimulus and the things going on and our family members giving us all the grief, right? So we need to actively bring ourselves back to this parasympathetic state. So that's what we want to do to reduce stress. I want to show you guys a real simple breathing exercise that you can do. It's not real fancy, but it works very, very well. And there's a lot of scientific research behind it too. But what we want to do is we take an inhale and an exhale, and we want to count to, you can start at 4, right? So when you inhale, you want to inhale for a count of 4. So I go. It's 4 seconds, and you can hold it for maybe 1 second and then release for 4 seconds. Hold for 1 second and repeat that process. So you're inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for about a second, release for 4 seconds, hold for about a second. And you can do maybe 10 rounds of this. It doesn't have to be a long, long time. And you'll feel the effect very immediately. It's very powerful and very simple. I've used this in the past if I have a stressful situation, maybe like a job interview. I had to give a talk about to try to receive a grant for $20,000, and I was shaken. You have 3 minutes to talk about it to try to get this grant. So I sat and did that in the waiting room as I was waiting, and it just really brought me down and grounded me and centered me. So particularly if you're feeling very stressed out, or if there's a situation that's very hard to deal with, use this simple breathing exercise. You can increase this, you can go more than 4 seconds to up to 6 or 8 seconds. Some people do, but start at 4. It's a very easy and balanced practice to do it that way. And the other thing I would say is to make sure you get outside for 20 minutes a day. So what we're trying to do here is get our vitamin D, right, from the sun. I'm not sure where all of you are at right now. There's not a lot of sun in the sky. There's a lot of dust and smoke cover. But typically we want to get some vitamin D from the sun. And the science is showing that you really only need about 20 minutes. But as most of us are spending more time indoors, not only right now, but just in general, we spend more time indoors than we ever have probably. Make sure you get outside. They say the best time is in the middle of the day, so between maybe 11 and 1 p.m. Get out and take a little walk then if it's not too hot where you are. But just getting outside is great. And I'll talk about vitamin D a little bit more in a minute, but that's another big thing that modulates the nervous system, reduces our stress, regulates our sleep circadian rhythms, so our sleep cycles. So important to have vitamin D in our bodies. Probably, in my opinion, more than any other vitamin. So try to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes a day doing something like this, right? Something actively to reduce stress is very helpful. And I always say this to everybody: if you have a complicated life, simplify. Between the internet and just how things are, there's so many things we can do, so many things we can get interested in and check out. But this really drains our bodies and our minds and makes us tired, fatigued, and actually lowers the immune system too. So most people I feel would do good to simplify their lives. What are some extraneous things in your life that you don't really need to be giving your attention to, right? And direct your energy, right? We only have this finite amount of energy in a given day, right? And as we age, it gets less and less too, right? So you only have this finite amount. Where do you want to put your energy? What do you want to focus on? What is actually important to you? And so if you think about it in those ways, you'll find that you'll start to let things fall away that aren't as important, and you'll be more effective that way too, which is good. And then of course the other big thing I want to talk about is sleep, right? So this is a big one, right? Everybody either sleeps great or doesn't sleep great, and it has such a big effect on our body's health. I've seen studies, they're with nurses who tend to work night shifts and things like that. God bless them. But the effect that has on their health, their levels of cancer have increased dramatically from people who work night shifts. Autoimmune disorders, inflammatory disorders, these things all go up and up and up the less we are on a good sleep cycle. So making sure you're sleeping good is so important. The big things that I tend to find people struggle with is there's the night owl types. I can tend to be one of those. But we really want to make sure we're in bed by 10 p.m. or, I'm being really nice here, but by 11 at the very, very latest. So if that's a struggle for you, if you stay up later than that, really try to pull that sleep time back. You'll find you feel dramatically better. Even if you get 8 hours of sleep going to bed at midnight, try it. See what you feel like getting 8 hours going to bed at 10 p.m. and it's dramatically different effect on your body. So if you're struggling with getting to sleep, it's good to look at, why am I struggling to get to sleep? Is there stress in my life? Are there, extraneous circumstances? Sometimes it's both, right? So a couple simple things that I like to have people do if they're struggling with sleep is if you do okay with milk, is to warm up a cup of milk, just a small little coffee mug, put a pinch of cardamom powder or nutmeg powder in there, and it's delicious. It's kind of like a little treat. And again, I'm a sweet tooth, so I'm always looking for a treat. Having a glass of milk like that before bed has a really nice calming effect on the body. So I've had people who really struggle with sleep, and just doing something like that will really help them. If I'm having a trouble sleeping for a few days, I'll do that, and it usually will help me quite a bit. There's also some other sleep teas, like chamomile is a common one a lot of people know. Lavender tea. These are both very tasty, delicious teas, which is nice. And they have a nice calming effect. So after dinner sometime, give your body a little bit of time to digest your food. And then, maybe in 15, 30 minutes later, have a cup of tea before bed. And that will really help calm your nervous system and bring you down. Another simple thing you can do is give yourself a little bit of it sounds kind of funny, but you give yourself a foot massage with a little bit of oil at nighttime. And without getting too into the lingo of it, in Chinese medicine, this has a very grounding effect on the body as well. So some people will put the oil on their feet and then maybe put some socks on to go to bed too, just so you don't get oil on things. So if your feet are a little bit oily still, you can do something like that. But I've used this before and it's been wonderful for me. So it's another option you can try if you struggle with sleep. The big things these days are lights in the room. So a lot of us have cell phones, there's computers, devices. Blue light is particularly the one that seems to have the most effect on us not sleeping well. So I try to make sure if you're not sleeping well, check your room. Do you have your phone right by your bed? Do you have a TV or a computer screen that's emitting some light still? Make sure there's no lights in the room. Even if we're not aware of it, our body's natural cycles pick up on these things, right? It'll feel that light, and then so it gets confused. Is it night? Is it day, right? So this is a big one. I also encourage people, the last hour before you go to sleep is don't do any, don't watch any action-packed TV show. Don't go read the latest politics. Don't, if you have family members to give you grief, now's not the time to call them. You really want the last hour before bed to be a very calming way, bringing yourself down and gently slipping into that place so that you can sleep well. So look at the last hour of your night before you go to bed if you're having trouble sleeping. You can do some of these things, like I said, with the milk, the herbal teas. You can do some sitting meditation or sitting prayer or whatever helps you feel connected to your source. It's a great time to do that. And you can, some people like to go over their day as well and kind of just, say what went well today, or what didn't go so well, what can I do better tomorrow, right? Some of these kind of affirmation practices are also really nice. So I like to do those a lot too. And last thing I want to talk about, and I'm blabbing on and on and on, is supplementation. So I like to keep this really simple for you guys. There's all kinds of fun, fancy stuff we can do. But probably if I had to really hone in on a couple of things that I find very important is a vitamin D supplement. There's a lot of studies that show most of us are vitamin D deficient, even those of us who live in these Tucson's a very hot, sunny place. We have no shortage of sun. But even here, a lot of people be vitamin D deficient. So vitamin D is a very safe thing to take. If you're on medications, check with your doctor. I've never heard of doctors saying these things aren't okay. So, but double check. But taking a vitamin D supplement, they're very cheap and easy to find these days. And you want to take about, the measurements they use are called IUs. So the letter I, letter U, and you want about 4,000 IUs per day. So when you look on the little, oh, look, I got one right here actually. So this is just from Trader Joe's. I'm sure you guys all know Trader Joe's. Very simple, right? So this is actually a 5,000 IU. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is great. I take one of these every single day. Again, the effects of vitamin D on the body, it balances the hormonal system, balances the inflammatory process in the body, balances mood, emotions. It's such a wonderful, wonderful thing to make sure you're getting enough of. And it's so safe that I just almost always recommend, even if you don't know if you're short or not, just take it for a while and see how you feel. Right now, our immune system's the main thing we want to do, right, is keep ourselves as healthy as possible with the virus going around. So take some vitamin D. I always recommend. The other thing, I have my morning supplements right here. I wasn't even planning on that, but zinc. Taking a zinc supplement is also wonderful and very easy to find and very affordable too. The dosing on this, you don't need a whole lot of this. So 15 to 30 milligrams a day is a very safe dose and a very adequate dose. Zinc has a wonderful effect on the cardiac system, so our hearts, controls our blood sugar, and they've shown, in the last SARS virus, they were using zinc and showing good effect on treating that. So, a lot of this we're still learning as we go. What's the most effective thing for COVID, right? It's a very similar virus to SARS, though, from what they understand. So zinc is a great idea to take. I see patients, and I'm seeing patients now, so I'm in my mask and I wash my hands and we do all that stuff. But I'm always taking some of these things too, just as a backup. And then the last one is vitamin C. Again, a very easy one to find, very common. 75 to 100 milligrams a day is a very safe, very adequate dose as well. If you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're probably getting a pretty good amount of vitamin C as it is. But if you want to just kind of go a little bit more and just be a little extra cautious, take some vitamin C as well. Again, immune health, this is great for. It's great for the eyes and it's great for the heart. So these are 3 simple supplements you can find without having to come see me personally. Like I said, I do all kinds of herbal formulas and things like this. There's all kinds of really neat, fancy formulas you can do, but these are some simple ones that you all should be able to find locally and and take, and they'll help quite a bit. I'm a big fan of acupuncture too. Of course, I'm a little bit biased being an acupuncturist, but acupuncture is wonderful for all of these things. It's if you've never tried it and you're a little nervous, you could talk to Kay. I won't even have to be here. You can ask Kay honestly what she thinks of it. But most people find it not to be very, the needles are very tiny. It's not how you imagine. It's not like getting shots. It's not like going to the dentist. And it's very relaxing, and most people will fall asleep, and you actually take a little nap. But it's great for all these same things we've been talking about. The inflammation and pain and sleep cycles and things like that. It's a very nice modality to maybe consider too. So if you need help finding a clinic locally, maybe my information will be available, and you can reach out to me, and I can try to find you somebody. So that's everything I have. I hope I was helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you,
okay.
Josh. Everybody, I put you on mute to avoid the background. So if there are questions, sort of raise your hand, unmute yourself, and Josh will be with us for a couple more minutes. So, all right, Lori, you're on.
She talked about leftovers eating, in the refrigerator. How about freezing?
Not so encouraged.
Okay.
Not that I've ever not done that. I mean, I have frozen foods too, but yeah, something to minimize. It is. This is getting a little bit out into maybe woo-woo land for some people, but so they look at food and the energetic resonance it has, or the strength and energy. Fresh is always going to be the best. So as things either sit in the fridge or freeze, it tends to just make these a little bit less. And we all know that, when you heat a frozen meal, is it ever as good as the fresh one? Probably not, right? Most of the time.
Well, I don't know. I like to make like bolognese sauce, and I think it's actually better after I freeze it and then I take it out, and then it's like, all the flavors have melded together. So I'll agree to disagree on that one item.
Okay, sounds good. We'll keep your bolognese then. Yeah, you like I said, you should have the things that bring you joy. That's medicine too.
I always thought spaghetti was better the second day too, Lori. So, Anna, you've got your hand raised. Do you have a question? No. Charlene does. Charlene, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Josh, I have a comment and a question. The comment is thank you so much for speaking. And I guess that's part one of the comment. And also thank you for mentioning the turmeric. I personally take a half teaspoon in my green juice with a dash of pepper because it increases absorption. Yeah. And I think it really helps my arthritis because it's an anti-inflammatory.
It's a big one. It's wonderful. That's a good point. It's taking a little bit of black pepper with the turmeric is a great idea. It increases the absorption rate of the turmeric itself. So yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and great, maybe the best anti-inflammatory spice there is. It is.
And as for the question, at the beginning of the pandemic, all the organic CSAs were no longer accepting new subscriptions because they were filled to capacity. For those who don't know, CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, which are local farms that sell and sometimes deliver a box of their latest crops to customers. Josh, do you know of any off the top of your head that I can look up? Because I'd like to get into it, but with the pandemic and everybody's doing it, I don't know.
Are you here in Tucson?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Yeah, I just know the CSA here, and I know that they were holding off. I don't know of another one. That's the only one I know of, the main one that picks up downtown.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Great.
Ask another.
Let's go to Jane first. Jane, you're on mute, and then we'll come back to Lori.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to dovetail off of that question relating to the fruits and vegetables. Josh, what is your take regarding organic versus, the non-organic?
It's a controversial thing, of course, as most things are. I tend to really favor organic. Certain things, a lot of that will also come down to the cost and your ability to buy certain things. There's also great lists. I don't have one right here, but there's great lists. I think it's called I want to say they call it the Dirty 30, maybe. It's a funny name for it. But there's particular fruits and vegetables that they really recommend you get organic if you can. And then there's ones that are a little bit, they say, like bananas, these things that have the thick skins on them, mangoes, these are protected really large in part, right? So they're a little bit safer. But a lot of particularly berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, these are all ones that would be directly exposed to some of these pesticides. So those are the ones they recommend that you go organic with. And so I really try to favor organic. It just kind of makes the most logical sense to me, but it's a controversial topic still.
Just to interject, the list is called the Dirty Dozen.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really helpful list. It's a good reminder. I want to print it out and put it on my fridge.
Lori, you had a second question?
I did. And this is going to dovetail off of Charlene's also, where she was talking about turmeric. So I looked up turmeric. My dad has a lot of arthritic problems, and it has curcumin.
Yep.
Is that a blood thinner? Because he also has problems with.
It is, yeah. So the curcumin is the what they call the isolate of turmeric that has the anti-inflammatory properties. So sometimes they'll sell a supplement that is just the curcumin. Traditional medicine, they say it's best to take the herb as a whole herb because there's other constituents of it that are kind of counterbalancers to some of the effects, right? So I almost always take any supplement as a whole herb rather than the individualized piece. It is a blood thinner. It's not a strong blood thinner. I know plenty of people who take it and have, who are on blood thinners and it's not a problem. Again, check with the primary care person, make sure it's safe and they're okay with it. They'll probably say no problem. But yeah, it is technically a blood thinner.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I don't see any more hands.
Yes.
Well, Josh, I think from all of us in terms of, Shirley has one. Okay, there, I see your hand now.
Yeah, I was just mentioning when it comes to ginger, a lot of people don't bother buying the whole ginger and it's a pain to peel and everything.
Right.
I discovered ginger paste in a tube and I just keep it in the refrigerator and you can just squeeze a little bit of it into whatever you're making.
That's wonderful.
And it's terrific convenience.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. I like that a lot. And like I said, I'm very practical. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so what they'll do is the ginger comes in like a root, right? So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt for some people. Chop it up, or use like a cheese grater and grind it. But yeah, they'll sell either a jar or a little tube they've already done all that for you. So you just squeeze it out and very helpful.
And when it comes to garlic, I don't keep fresh garlic on hand because it spoils so easily. I buy it in a jar, the minced garlic, and add it to things.
I'm always a big fan of the simple things too that will help you do it more regularly, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I love it.
And you avoid the mold on the ginger,
Right.
which occurs.
Right.
And you don't get it on your hands. You don't get the smell on your hands.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Josh, for improving, I think, the health of everybody, no matter how health conscious anybody here was. I think we learned something.
Okay.
Something new. So we really, really thank you for spending the time with us. And, we certainly admire all kinds of medicine that will make us, just live longer and be better. So thanks again very much.
Of course. And thank you all. Have a nice afternoon, okay?
So we can do this. This is the happy clapping fingers. I learned that from somebody in Africa. So anyway, thank you very much again.
Of course.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a very short break. I think 5 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the branch business.
Be sure and come back.
I'm watching. I want to see you come back.
That's always.
So anyway, this is as important in some ways as Josh was. Josh was important to our individual health, and hopefully what you're going to hear is going to be important to the health of Tucson as we move forward as an organization. So we'll see you at 8 minutes after, and we'll all move quickly through the rest of the branch business. Okay, see you. Be back in a while.
No.